Law of comparative advantage. We must know the difference between absolute and comparative advantage. Absolute advantage. Absolute advantage describes a situation in which an individual, business or country can produce more goods or service than any other producer with the same quantity of resources. Let's assume only two countries in the world produces only two goods and services which are identical. For example, Pakistan and Brazil. They can produce either cotton or computers, using exactly the same quality and quantity of factors of production. The table indicates Pakistan produces either 20 tons of cotton or 10 computers. Brazil produces either 16 tons of cotton or 2 computers. This shows Pakistan has the absolute advantage in producing cotton and computers using same factors of productions. And Pakistan is more efficient with same factors of production. Comparative advantage. It describes the situation in which an individual, business, or country can produce a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than other producer. The key difference between absolute and comparative advantage is opportunity cost. Let's see, now that for each ton of cotton or each computer made, how much is each nation giving up to produce it? That is opportunity cost of production. Table 1 shows Pakistan produces either 20 tons of cotton or 10 computers. Brazil produces either 16 tons of cotton or 2 computers. Table 2 shows to produce 1 ton of cotton, Pakistan sacrifices half of computer. To produce 1 ton of cotton, Brazil sacrifices 1/8 of computer. To produce 1 computer, Pakistan sacrifices 2 tons of cotton. To produce 1 computer, Brazil sacrifices 8 tons of cotton. Whoever have the less opportunity cost will win. Country need to get specialized in a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than other producers, and trade free with other country. Now, in our example, for producing cotton, Brazil has the lowest opportunity cost in producing cotton, because they are only giving 1/8 of computer, whereas Pakistan is giving up half of computer. So Brazil is giving up less for producing 1 ton of cotton. They have the opportunity cost advantage. For producing computers, for each computer, Pakistan only giving up 2 tons of cottons. On the other hand, Brazil is giving up more. They are giving up 8 tons of cotton to produce a computer. So, Pakistan has the opportunity cost advantage over Brazil in computer production. Brazil has advantage in cotton production and Pakistan has advantage in computer production. So, each country should specialize in respective goods for trade with each other. Graphical representations. To work out who has got the comparative advantage, let's check the graphical representation. The graph shows the PPCs of both Brazil and Pakistan. Pakistan produces 10 computers or 20 cottons. Brazil produces 2 computers or 16 cottons. To check who has the comparative advantages, check the axis where there is the biggest gap in the PPCs. In this case, the biggest gap is on y-axis, the computer axis. So, that means Pakistan has the comparative advantage in computer production. It means on the other axis, which is cotton, the other country has the comparative advantage in that product. So, Brazil has the comparative advantage in cotton production. For trade to be mutually beneficial for each country to exploit its comparative advantage, there should be a suitable exchange rate. To get the suitable exchange rate for our example, we have this graphical representation of opportunity cost between Pakistan and Brazil. The graph shows opportunity cost ratio. For Pakistan, for each computer they could have produced 2 tons of cottons. For Brazil, for each computer they could have produced 8 tons of cottons. For mutual trade between Pakistan and Brazil, and to exploit their comparative advantage, there should be a suitable rate of exchange. That rate must be between the opportunity cost ratios of the two countries, that it should be somewhere on the red line. Explanation. Pakistan is specialized in computer production. It means Pakistan will need 2 tons of cotton in return for each computer they sell to Brazil. Anything less than 2 tons of cotton will not be suitable for Pakistan, because according to data they can sacrifice 1 computer and produce 2 tons of cottons. So, for beneficial trade Pakistan at least need 2 tons of cotton for 1 computer. Now for Brazil they should specialized in computer production and buy computers from Pakistan. They have to pay either 8 tons of cottons or less than 8 tons. Because if they pay more than 8 tons of cotton, they could sacrifice 8 tons of cotton and produce 1 computer themselves. So, for beneficial trade Brazil should pay 8 or less than 8 tons of cottons to buy 1 computer from Pakistan. Therefore, the suitable exchange rate must be between the opportunity cost ratios of both countries. The cost of 1 computer should be between 2 and 8 tons of cotton. So the best price of the computer should be equal to 5 cottons. More than 5 cottons per computer will be beneficial for Pakistan. Less than 5 cottons per computer will be beneficial for Brazil. But as long as the exchange rate will be between the two opportunity ratios, that is on the red line in graph, it will be beneficial for both countries. Comparative advantage consuming beyond PPC. If a country specialized in producing goods or services, where it has the lowest opportunity cost, that has the comparative advantage. We will study it in a following numerical example. Let us say that Pakistan can produce 10 forks or 30 knives. Brazil can produce 30 forks or 10 knives. For Pakistan 10 forks equals 30 knives. 1 fork equals 3 knives. 1 knife equals 1/3 forks. For Brazil, 30 forks equals 10 knives. 1 fork equals 1/3 knives. 1 knife equals 3 forks. Pakistan has got comparative advantage in knife production. Brazil has the comparative advantage in fork production. Let's say to trade between both countries the suitable exchange rate is 1:1, that is, 1 fork to 1 knife. Let's check it is suitable for both or not. Pakistan, 1 fork equals 3 knives. 1 knives equals 1/3 forks. For 1 fork, costs 3 knives to Pakistan, if they only produce knives. With 1:1 rate to buy 1 fork it only cost 1 knife. For 1 knife, they could have bought 1/3 of fork, but with 1:1 rate Pakistan could get 1 fork for 1 knife. So they get more back in return. Brazil. 1 fork equals 1/3 knives. 1 knife equals 3 forks. Now, for Brazil for specializing in forks they could only get 1/3 of knife. but with 1:1 rate they can get 1 knife for 1 fork. To buy knife on 1:1 rate, Brazil only have to sacrifice 1 fork instead of 3 fork. So, this 1:1 rate benefits both parties. The first graph shows respective PPCs for both countries. Now, according to first graph, what both Pakistan and Brazil cannot get is to produce 15 forks and 15 knives. That means going beyond their respective PPCs. The red point in second graph is unattainable, because it is beyond both PPCs. But by specializing and with suitable exchange of rate, that is 1:1, Brazil could produce 30 forks, but with 30 fork they would not get any knife, but if they sells 15 forks to Pakistan they can get back 15 knives in return. For Pakistan, if they produce 30 knives they can't get any fork, so on selling 15 to Brazil they can get 15 forks. So the point beyond respective PPCs is suddenly attainable. Here, new PPC is derived, based on rate of exchange 1:1, and at this rate both countries can consume beyond their respective PPCs. So, comparative advantage not only states that country should specialized in producing a good or service that has a lowest opportunity cost and trade to other, but it also states that by suitable rate of exchange and specializing, can actually consume beyond their respective PPCs. It is a huge gain for consumers. Criticisms of comparative advantage, or limitation of comparative advantage. The law of comparative advantage states that country should specialized in the production of goods or services it can produce at a lowest opportunity cost. Then it should trade at a suitable exchange rate. With comparative advantage, the prices will be lower, everyone is going to buy from this country. But in the real world there are lots of limitations, which explain that why many countries that have comparative advantage are struggling in the market to sell their goods and services. 1. Perfect knowledge. Consumers may not know about the product, or may not have the information where the lowest prices are. 2. No transport cost. The model assumes no transport cost. A country may have the comparative advantage, the efficiency in production of any product is better, and have lower price, but there may be a fact that there might be a huge transport cost for other nation to buy those products. Three. No economies of scale. If a country have comparative advantage and they are able to produce and supply products to the world, they will get huge benefit from economies of scale. But maybe a country that doesn't have comparative advantage is able to exploit the economies of scale better than the country that have comparative advantage. 4. Rate of inflation. High inflation rate can put an end to the country's comparative advantage. 5. No input control. Different tariff on country's goods and services, where it has a comparative advantage, can be affected. That there is no control of tariff, the countries can lose the comparative advantage. 6. Non-pricing competitiveness. Even the country may not have comparative advantage in producing anything, but it may benefit its products on other way, maybe reliability, service quality, overall quality, innovations, technology. These non-pricing factors may dominate. By these factors, the price of goods in a country might not be high even they don't have the comparative advantage. Seven, exchange rates. If a country has got comparative advantage but also a very strong exchange rates, that have very worse effects on country's trade. 8. Research and development. There are lots of countries in the world producing similar products. All the countries producing similar products might have different technologies, which means that the products also be slightly different in quality. It might be possible that a country might not have comparative advantage but they spend a lot to get latest technology, which help to produce far more better products.